Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Tales from the Tavern. I hope you all are having a great weekend. I know that we are because this channel has been live all weekend, which is kind of a rarity around here. So, before we really get started, I want to thank everybody who has been a participant in, a donor to the Casa de Colores fundraiser. I have been informed that we are currently up to, $1,905. With a goal of 2,000. So thank you all very, very much. We are very excited about that. If you are just tuning in and you are not familiar with the fundraiser, Casa de Colores is a nonprofit organization here in the U.S. that works with LGBTQ plus migrant refugees from Central and Latin America. They are predominantly trans migrant refugees, and they very recently incorporated into a nonprofit. So we're very excited to help them get their feet under them and help them get off the ground. ! Donate to get a link to donate. You can check everything out. Also, down below in the About section, if you click the fundraiser logo, you can find out more about some of the giveaway incentives that are going on and that sort of thing. One other reminder, if you have giveaway tickets for any of the giveaway items, those need to be turned into Dreamy Ray by 11:59 Eastern Time. So just under 3 hours from now. So, yeah, or 4 hours from now. I can't math. That's not what we're here for. Let's talk about TTRPGs that don't include math at all. Okay, we're going to go around, have everybody introduce themselves, tell us a little about who you are, and then if you're joining in the stream for the first time, we'll let you know a little about how it works. Brent, we're going to start with you. Tell us a little about who you are and where we can find you on the internet and all that good stuff.
Awesome. Yeah, my name is Brent. I'm known as Dorkboard Canada on most socials. I am a freelance TTRPG and speculative fiction editor and writer. And
All right. Well, for some reason, apparently people can't hear you, and I can't figure out why. All right, let's try that again. Brent, tell us who you are and where people can find you on social media.
Oh my God, this is such a surprise!
I know.
I have nothing prepared.
It's not a stream if there's not technical issues.
It is very true. I'm happy to be that person for this. Yeah, I'm known as Dorklord Canada on most socials, and you can find me on my website, dorklordcanada.ca. I also write editorials and sometimes product reviews for the rathole.ca, which is a wonderful gaming review site. Other than that, I'm a freelance tabletop role-playing game and speculative fiction editor and writer, and I am just starting to dip my toe into actual play production, which I'll talk a little bit when we do our wrap-up at the end.
Awesome. Well, great. I'm excited to have you back again. Brent's been on a couple of times, so that's exciting. Jason.
All right. Hey, I'm Jason, but everywhere else in the socials, you can find me at Shadowmain. No W, SHADOMAIN, including the website shadowmain.com, where I write about TTRPGs and we interview people and as much content as we can, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, which I could not do without Gamer Mom Luna's help. She writes quite a few posts for us.
It's true.
Other than that, I am a lifelong GM by choice, more or less, sort of, kind of. I play as many different kinds of games as I can, and write articles on my own site, other sites, and I write some adventures here and there. Don't quote me on that because it's been a while.
Awesome. Yes, we jokingly say that you can microdose Tales from the Tavern every Wednesday over on shadowmain.com, so you should definitely check that out. Yeah, I do. I write a bunch of stuff. I have a post dropping there tomorrow morning at 1 a.m. Eastern time for anybody who's up really late and needs something to read. Awesome. Thank you. Peach, tell us a little about yourself.
Well, hello. Hello, pretty people. I am Peach. I am starting TTRPG and D&D creator. I base mainly on writing. Right now you can find me mostly on Twitter, and I just created a Ko-Fi today, but you'll find that on my Twitter at Peach Writings, Peach_writings. And well, I love all things TTRPG. I love to GM, play. For now, because, mainly... let's say economical reasons, I will only write, but I hope to soon be able to post playing, GMing, all the good stuff that I love to do every day of my life. So yeah, here I am for the first time. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. One of the things that I really like about doing this show is it's a nice way to meet other people in the community. So everybody go check out Peach because I said so. And we're excited to have you and get to know you a little bit. So thanks for coming on and hanging out tonight. Tal, tell us a little about you.
Hello! I am Tal Woodblaze. You can find me at the Gamers Rest, mostly on Twitter. I do have Discord and all that kind of stuff, but I generally take my Twitter for everything. I am a freelance writer and game designer for TTRPGs. Currently, I have a monthly membership over on my Ko-Fi, which involves adventures, supplements, and all sorts of cool bits and pieces. And yes, it's my third time, I believe, coming on. So
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Between Peach and Tal, we're spanning the globe tonight. We've got and Brent. Actually, we've got what? Canada, the U.S., the U.K., and Venezuela tonight. So yeah, we're going global. No pressure, Benjamin. Tell us a little about you in 30 seconds or less.
Hey everybody, I'm TT Benjamin. You can find me on Twitter at TTBenjamin1 and at Great_Lawful. I'm the host and guide of the Lawful Great Adventures podcast. Not Pathfinder.
It's not Pathfinder anymore.
A quest podcast about four friends on a long journey home. You can also catch me on Thursdays with Atomic Zero at where I play Asimov in Esper Genesis Revelations. You can also catch me on Fridays with Roll for Chaos, where I play the Reverend Parson Roland St. James September on Delinquents. But, and this is very important, that's not all, folks. There's more. Tonight is a most momentous evening. In fact, the timing of you watching Tales from the Tavern could not possibly be better because that is me, am preparing to launch my Kickstarter for my first major print release. That's right. Starting tomorrow in 12 hours and 51 minutes, Adversary is coming to Kickstarter. Now, what is Adversary? Thank you so much for asking, Luna. I really appreciate that.
I was really wondering. I was hoping you would tell us.
Adversary is a GM-less narrative deck building fight against evil. In Adversary, based on big deck-based narrative games like The Quiet Year or For the Queen or that kind of thing, you and your friends will face off. You will skip to the end and face off against the final battle at the end of the story. But there's a twist. Every time you draw a card, the adversary acts against you, and then you flash back to a moment previous in the campaign. So you're telling the story from the end while hopping backward. It's going to be really fun. We've got a lot of different tiers. I'm really excited. Everyone, grab the link. Go follow it right now, the pre-launch campaign. Go follow it, and then watch for tomorrow and get ready to back that sucker.
Yeah.
Back to you.
Thanks, TT Benjamin.
You're welcome.
Yes. I am super excited. I keep saying that I'm gonna back off on my Kickstarter backing, and then people I know start releasing Kickstarters, and I'm like, God damn it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I also just backed the Underground Oracle Kickstarter this week. If you haven't checked that one out, definitely give that a look. The PDFs, it's a horror themed setting for 5e.
Ooh.
Yeah, and if you haven't checked it out yet, they will actually have the PDF copies out to all of the backers before Halloween.
Sick.
So, yeah, definitely check that one out too. I can grab a link in a few minutes for that. So, yeah. Oh, yeah. I see Emily in chat. Kickstarter has eaten a good portion of my money this year for sure. Yup. Accurate. All right. So a little about how this stream works if you're joining us for the first time. Let me tell you. So basically, Tales from the Tavern is a talk show where chat asks all the questions. So if you have questions for our panel, it can be about anything TTRPG related. It can be about snacks people like to eat at the table. It can be asking them for their 60-second villain monologue. Who knows? Not that we've been warned that that's coming up. Lord Richter, I see your treats for kitties. I'm getting them out now. And yeah, you can go ahead and drop those in chat. We have a moderator that will make sure that we see them, and we will definitely try to get to as many of those tonight as we can. I don't want to make promises that we'll get to all of them because sometimes that just doesn't happen. But please feel free to do that. You don't have to do anything special. You don't have to, use the highlight or anything like that. However, if you have 1,000 channel points racked up, you can use the Ask My Question next. So if we do get a bunch of questions racked up, you can just go ahead and use that, and then it will bump your question up to the first one in the queue, and we will get to yours as soon as we finish up whatever question we're talking about. So that's a little about how it works. So feel free to start dropping those in chat whenever you are ready. Kitties, I have treats for you. And yeah, there's also cat treat redemptions. Lord Richter's already made sure that my cats are getting treats tonight, so they're pretty excited about that. All right, so we have a new face on the stream, which means I have to ask my standard starting question. And that is, if you are playing at an actual table with real dice, do your dice have to match? Feel free to jump in, anybody.
No.
I have a counterback question. What is matte dicing? As you may understand, English is not my first language.
Do your dice have to be a set? Do you have to have a matching set of dice?
Hey, good question.
No, my dice collection is an amalgam of every die that I have borrowed and then forgotten to give back over the course of my 22 years in gaming. It is a cacophonous display and deeply offensive to the sorting-minded dice goblins that usually frequent my tables. They find it horrifying. I don't even keep them in like a box. I just have like a little dish. That's where my dice go.
Oh,
They're like, that's
God,
just a dish. It's so disrespectful.
I can't.
And yet, they roll great. It's good dice are forged like a diamond through heat and adversity.
I also have I have a giant bag with all my dice thrown in together, chaotically, so to speak. Going back to the Blue Expert set from the old days, except for one set, which I got as a gift, and that means a lot to me. But I have to say, I don't roll dice. I GM all the time. I GM a lot of Cypher system and Blades and systems where the players roll all the dice. And if I play D&D, I use static damage, so I only ever roll a single D20. So,
Wow.
I mean, poop in the party there.
Jason, have you
Spartan.
ever considered when you do play D&D just going all the way and do static defense too, so that the players roll defense checks?
That's
Don't
the
give
way
him any
Cypher
ideas.
Oh, okay.
works. Yeah. I thought you were going to say have you ever considered serious therapy, but
No. I as a fellow dice disrespecter, I admire.
Ben, I'm not gonna lie. I thought you were gonna say, have you ever considered playing Quest? For the amount of times Ben talks about Quest, you would think he actually works for them.
Do talk about Quest a lot. Sometimes I just go door to door. 7 in the morning.
Good word. With just a book in your hand, like, "Hi, I'm running
It's like the Quest book.
do you have a...
I have to say, in my case, impressively, I have not bought a complete set of dice yet. As a matter of fact, I only have two dice, a d20 and a d6, which some of my friends in chat will know I was scammed for, because a set of dice here in Venezuela can cost like $6, $8, and I bought that one d20 for $3 on the Comic Con. Oh my god, I got robbed, and I haven't bought a set of dice since. I think every time, most of the times when I DM D&D, which has been once, a friend of mine borrowed me all of their dice, and most of the time I GM all their games, which require mostly D6s. So just all the Monopoly tables in my house, all the old Monopolies, all the old craniums are looking at me like, please don't take my dice again. I'm coming for you. They know it.
Yeah, I mean, I said no because I don't have a problem using mixed dice. I buy sets of dice with the intention of using them for specific characters, for a specific game. And that intention lasts maybe a session or two until they wind up in the big jar of dice that I have, and then from there it's just like, nope, sorry.
I'm generally really disorganized in like 99% of the stuff of my life, but I generally get dice as gifts, and so they are actually in a little case, and they're in a little row with all their kind of like all together, and yeah, so I generally I don't usually mix and match. No, I've got one set my daughter bought me a few years ago, which are big, chunky, heavy metal dice, and tend to be my dice of choice.
Nice.
I
Anybody
can't
who's
believe you
seen the
let us
show
call in
knows
here.
that anybody who's seen the show knows that all of my dice, and I mean all of them, are not kept together. They are all separated from each other. They are all in their own container. If they're in a dice bag, it's a dice bag that has separate pockets for each set. I have at least 14 sets within within arm's reach right now. I have three D6s that are in a china cabinet downstairs because I can't, if I roll them, I will either break the die or I will break the table. Because one of them is like a gemstone D6. So I can't roll that because I'll destroy it. And the other two, I've shown them on stream before, but they're metal and they're huge and they probably weigh a half a pound each. I would definitely do some serious damage. The running joke has been, that I should keep them next to my bed in the event that somebody like breaks into my house, and then I can just throw it at them and tell them that they need to make a save. But you know, I probably wouldn't be coherent enough to do that well. So, yes, Apache, my personal defense dice.
Outlaw guns if you like, I have my dice.
Right? Exactly. I should get like a die slingshot. That would probably. Although I do have my little my dice catapult, but that doesn't fling them very far. All right, let's see. We've had a couple of questions come in from chat, so we'll dive into those. The first one we got is from Lord Richter, and he would like to know, what was your very first RPG experience?
Boy, really?
So I guess for me, it all started with the Choose Your Own Adventure books. The Warlock of Firetop Mountain, the Joe Devers Lone Wolf series, and the Ninja series, which was the same called Avenger, I think the first one was. So yeah, definitely that kind of like sat at a really young age with my book and my dice and just lost in my own little world. Yeah, definitely.
So I think I wrote the full story about this on my website. It's buried somewhere. But long ago, Scholastic Book Club from the schools around here had a magazine called Dynamite Magazine. And Dynamite, really early on, did an article on Dungeons and Dragons, this brand new fad. This is like the very beginning of AD&D. And I read about that and I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. I have to play it. Didn't know anybody who played it. Eventually, I found a copy somewhere of the Red Basic book. This involves the previous question. The Red Basic book, but I never had the set. When we first started playing, all I had were the D6s we stole from Monopoly. So when it said roll a D20, I had to roll 3 and kind of fudge it. If it said roll a D8, I had to roll 1D6 and kind of fudge it. That's how we started. Eventually, I met somebody who knew how to play for real, and he kind of set me straight, and it was a long time ago.
Buckle up. Is everyone ready for story hour? I've got this one in the hopper. Okay. It's 24 years ago.
Oh,
There is a tiny, tiny TT Benjamin, 13 years old. He has a bowl cut. And the family gets the first computer. Not the first computer ever made, but like the first family computer. And on that computer was a little internet program called MIRC. Anyone remember IRC? It was basically an unregulated like chat room. Kind of, actually, honestly, it's a lot like Discord is now. But this is all during the Wild West days of the web, right? This is when there was no one watching. This is when the government didn't realize that they could surveil stuff. It was just bedlam. You could compare it danger-wise to like going on the deep web today. Just completely unregulated internet space. I am 13 years old. I have never heard of an RPG. I don't know what any of this stuff is. And somehow, through a miracle of miracles, I happened to stumble on this channel where everyone's playing this Dragon Ball Z RPG. Now, I hadn't been playing Dragon Ball Z, but I wanted to play with them. So they kind of caught me up. It was all bot assisted. The system was invented by some dude who could program. It was all bot assisted dice rolls, all bot assisted character sheets. We used little like exclamation point and slash commands to kind of do everything. I had like a Dragon Ball Z OC who was like kind of like a Dragon Ball Z Jedi. His name was Dirk Lasher. I was 13.
Wait, were you 13?
I was 13 years old. I played with those people for about 3 years, and that was the only RPG I played. And we were playing every single day because someone was running a game every night, and I would just be like, "Yeah, I'm in. I'm doing it. I'm doing it. I'm doing it." Probably played with those people for about 3 or 4 years, into about high school. The miracle is that somehow, of all the terrible places a 13-year-old child who knew nothing could have gotten into in the internet, I found literally like the safest place in the world. A friend of mine who I'm actually still friends with, one of the players that I used to play with in those days. And we were remarking how the guy who ran that channel, his name's Frank, he's Canadian, shout out. He was 25 years old at the time, and we're not sure what he was doing in the background, but there was a lot of young, stupid kids in that game. And like somehow he was keeping the worst people out of that channel. So kind of a miracle. Anyway, eventually everyone went their separate ways. I got into D&D, and then, here we are.
Luna, can we put some background music to that story and post or something?
There is background music, actually. We just can't hear it. Done by our good friend Kai Ellen. Shout out to Kai Ellen.
Well, if I may intervene, in my case, all my emo kids, shout out to all the emo kids in the chat. We know Amino rolling Omegaverse. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. If anyone knows what Omegaverse is. No, but talking for real, it was through very similar things to Omegaverse rolling within internet chats. Extremely like WhatsApp, which is very, I think there in America and other countries is not as famous as here in Latin America. Like the WhatsApp platform. And we would play all the time, like rolling RPGs about like World War II being spies or whatever, just very small little things like that. And actually my first actual TTRPG, like with a system, with rolling, with everything, was this year. It was just this year.
Yes. Yeah, for me it was 1980. saw an advert on the calendar on the bulletin board at our local public library. One of the assistant librarians was starting a D&D club. And yeah, I was like 10 years old, and this was a chance to play the characters that I had read about in all the science fiction and fantasy books that I was reading at the time. And I bugged my mom enough to let me like go and do this, and my parents were cool with it because if a library is doing it, then it can't be bad. So there was I managed to sort of skirt past the all of the satanic panic stuff that was going on at the time. Because librarians are cool by my parents, so. And yeah. Then I mean this is northern Canada, so D&D first, and then whatever games the local bookstore would let us would let us pre-order. So obviously a lot of TSR stuff, and then branching out into Call of Cthulhu and Sky Realms of Jorun and all that stuff. So
I started playing it was almost 15 years ago now, a little over 14 years ago at this point. And basically it was my now ex-husband was running a game at our house, and I had never played. Like, I had heard about it, never played it, didn't know anybody who played it up until like I was in college. And then like my college roommate and her boyfriend, and like they played, but they didn't play while we were in college because college. And so they started playing a game at home, and it was one of those things that, like, you know, at first it would be like, okay, I'm gonna put the baby to bed and then I'll go to bed because new mom. And then you know, like a week later it would be like, okay, I'm gonna put the baby to bed and I'm gonna read in the living room so I can kind of hear what's going on. And then finally it was just like, all right, somebody push over, I want to, like, just, I'm sitting down, like, let's go. And so that was pretty much how I got into it. I think my first character was I know it was a rogue. I think it was a halfling, but I can't remember for certain. But I do still have my first set of dice, and I do still talk to the person who bought me my first set of dice, so that's cool. My good friend Jared got me my first set of dice, so yeah, that was how I started. But yeah, it was basically I just pushed my way into the table and was like, all right, somebody show me what I'm doing. All right, did everybody get a chance to answer that one? I'm going to take that as a yes. Okay, Dreamy Ray would like to know. Oh, actually, before I do this, I would just like to point out we are now $85 away from our goal of $2,000. We're so close. So close. So just throwing that out there. And I do just want to shout out, there was a couple of donations that came in before the stream. One was from Random Gaijin and one was from Lynn. So if you're here, thank you. We appreciate it very much. All right. So the next question comes from Dreamy Ray, and Ray would like to know, what is the most memorable game you've ever played in and why? I can think of a few that are memorable, but I don't know which one's the most.
All right.
It's like ranking your children, isn't it? You can't really say, well, this, you know.
You might have written about this one too, but so we were teenagers playing in high school, and we all had our, you know, this was pre-internet, so you would just play with your best friends, right? And so we had our group of 4 or 5 kids, and then other people that we knew had their own group of 4 or 5 kids. Pretty soon we got together and played, and some insane person, I guess, decided that they would GM for all of us. So we all brought our favorite characters. My favorite character was a dwarven fighter, and he happened to have a Vorpal sword. Back in the day, you know, all we had for personalization was like likes and fears. That was pretty much it. So Oh, and his hatred was red dragons. But we get into this, we're really not paying any attention to the story. We're just there to show up each other up. So this other friend from the other group, he had this awesome wizard. When I wasn't looking, I was trying to look for treasure. He says, I'm going to polymorph. What are you going to polymorph into? A red dragon. So I turned around and said, my character hates red dragons. I'll swing at him. And I rolled a nat 20. Cut his head.
Yikes.
He was from the other group. I'm sure he never told anybody or went around with his character. But yeah, for, 16-year-old me, that was pretty awesome.
Early this year, I did my first live actual play for a charity event over a weekend. We played Shibuya Nights, and I'd never done I've done recordings with friends and stuff, but that was the first actual live one, and I was absolutely worried that I was going to say the wrong thing, do the wrong thing, but it was so much fun. Basically, my character was a pirate thief of an airship who I failed something like 70% of my rolls during the whole game, and I was supposed to be the pilot, so all I was doing was crashing this airship, lurching it from one disaster to another, whilst carrying a baby kraken on board, and it was so much fun because it's playing people I'd never played before, new system, everything. But yeah, it was I guess it opened my eyes up to kind of how much fun it can be to just put yourself out there maybe a little bit and just do something you've never done before, and yeah, it was so much fun, really, really good. I had a lot of fun doing that.
So I always tell the story about the time that a player did a surprise thing at the end of the campaign and sort of ruined all my plans. That's fun. I want to tell a different one. So this was from the campaign that I ran before starting Lawful Great Adventures, a campaign called Jorik and the Dragon. It's about it's based on the hook. A dragon is dead and everyone is trying to get to the horde. So really fun campaign. I want to revisit it one day. We never finished it, but the party's exploring the foothills of the mountain, trying to find the dragon's horde. And they stumble on a ziggurat, which is the tomb of the Fisher King, which is the tomb of the old elven king who used to run that mountain. And they had been dealing with the Fae for a while, and I had been building up this entity called the Queen of Roots, who is basically the Fae entity who sort of manages the trees. They go into this ziggurat, and the Queen of Roots appears, and there's the tomb of the Fisher King. And the Queen of Roots appears and says, you guys need to get out of here. This is a forbidden ziggurat. And then the whole place starts to get encased in roots. Well, two people run. One person's like, okay, I'm out of here. The next person's like, okay, I'm out of here. One person's like, no, I'm not leaving. I'm like, you're going to get trapped in here with a ghost, a spooky ghost. And he's like, yeah, I'm not going anywhere. The other player's like, well, I can't leave him alone. So this was my first big damn party split, and this blew my mind. And this is kind of part of where I love party splits. So one party can't get into the ziggurat. One party is trapped in the ziggurat with a ghost. So I end the session. I say, okay, next week, you two, we're playing. You two, don't come. And then the week after, we'll switch, and we'll see what everyone gets up to. And so they had, and I was like, none of you get to talk to each other about what goes on in the other person's session. So in one session, they sit and they talk to this ghost who was the queen of the dead king, and she's like a ghost. And then the other one, they go off and they go off and try to tie up another loose thread, find the grave of the king's dead son and the king's brother who killed all of these people. So they reunite at the ziggurat, demand that the Queen of Roots open the ziggurat. They go in, and we have this gigantic Shakespearean moment where all of this family baggage comes out. It's found out that the king sold his son's soul to a dragon. It's found out that the king's brother was murdering him for relatively legitimate reasons. It's found out that the queen was up to something. All of them are bad, and the party has to choose who are they going to side with. And they end up siding with the queen, and then the king and the uncle attack them, and so it's like this really big climactic fight. But I just remember the moment because I had been so used to parties sticking together. I remember the moment when one person was just like, I'm not leaving. I'm like, wait, no, you have to leave. The other people are leaving. Everyone's got to stay or everyone's got to go. We can't split the party. And then we did, and it was one of the coolest things that I'd done at the table. And now anytime I get a chance to split the party, I'm like, yeah, go split. It's fun.
Well, in my case, I have a really good one. I've been trying to fight so hard, choosing between two: my level 3 Bard versus Ogre 1v1, or my Crash Pandas game I had just a few weeks ago.
Oh.
So I'm gonna talk about Crash Panda, the D&D. In this case, you might know Crash Pandas. Many of you, it is a game about raccoons in Miami City trying to get into illegal racing. But I adapted it. I was the GM. I adapted it to be in Caracas, my city, where I'm from. Here, the raccoons of Caracas are possums, or rabipelaos, as we call them here. So it was a group of 3 possums. Here in Caracas, the public transportation system is so specific to this country. We call it camioneticas, which is like a diminutive of buses. And it's very fun. It's just there's no like line system. The camioneteros, the bus drivers, are on their own and they make their own lines. So there's like a big culture of, people that sell candy coming in and all of this sort of stuff. And I created this dystopian Caracas where it was basically 3 possums named Diptongo, which to translate it to English, it would be basically like saying, not literally, it's like a grammatic term. It's saying like if a possum was named past tense. Then there's Pelao, which means bald. Then there was Tobias, the most normal one. And they were it was so good. There's so many highlight moments. But one of the main ones, aside from the condom catapult they built, because I made the camioneticas to be themed after very big things like Farmatol, which is a big pharmacy company here in Caracas. It was when they fought against the BBEG, which I made it to be a camionetero, a bus driver, and it was so insane. I remember very well Diptongo, past tense, the possum, just no, it was pelao, it was bald. They grabbed identity card, like an ID, and they threw it at this super big buff guy with the big beer belly. The guy was just wrecking them, just destroying everything, beating possums up, thinking they were very little people, and they rolled like I set it to a very high success rate. It was like they had to roll maybe 4 or 5 times, so it was 4 successes. They rolled 5 successes. And it was this epic moment where a huge camionetero, a huge bus driver is just getting rabipelados possums out of the window, just beating them up, and suddenly an ID card, poof, into the head, completely getting the eye off, and they jump over El Rio Guaire, which is a big, huge river here in Caracas, and they win the race. It was awesome. One of the best moments I ever GM'd. There was Salsa Baul playing in the background, just big, strong salsa vibes. It was so fun. I have to say, one of the best games I've ever GM'd.
Sounds so cool.
I'm like really emotionally attached to these possums right now. I'm just like really. I want to know more.
Does sound good.
Oh, I love it. Some of your players are in chat too. They're like, "That was so insane."
Yeah. Actually, that one writing was Pelao, the one that did the critical hit.
Yeah. Oh. I'm trying to think of like one specific one. I've played a lot of really fun games. I remember playing a few that were actually a little more political than I would like to get here, but let's just say it happened roughly around the time of not the most recent U.S. election, but the one prior, and it was very entertaining. and I won't get into that, but that was memorable for its own reasons. But another one that I played one time was I played a wombat, my combat wombat, and that was a blast. Basically, we were trying to rescue what we thought we were trying to do. We were all playing animals, so there was me, there was an owl, there was a squirrel named Karen. There was so. Yeah, it was good.
Of course, the squirrel was called Karen.
Yes, yeah,
That
it
makes
was
perfect
hysterical.
sense.
Oh my god, it was so funny. And so we thought that what we were doing was like rescuing a bunch of kids from like a bunch of monsters that had kidnapped them. It was really, they were going to a Halloween party. But we were animals. We didn't know any better, so we were rescuing them from the monsters that kidnapped them. So that was a lot of fun. That was a couple years ago. That was our not very spoopy Halloween stream game for Halloween that year. And then another one that I did, and I know I've talked about this before, was one where we actually did a crossover. So normally the stream was a Pathfinder First Edition stream, and for a Halloween episode, we switched it over. Some of the players couldn't make it that week, so we merged with the Discount Dungeons podcast and ran it as a 5e game that day. And so it was essentially a dream sequence for the people from the Pathfinder game. And so it was great because it made it really fun because all of the mechanics didn't work the way that our characters would have expected them to. So, we would be like, oh, I'm going to rapid shot, or whatever. And nope, you can't do that because it doesn't work the same way and things like that. So that made it really entertaining. And then of course we chalked it up to the fact that one of the people that was in the party, just got like super drunk and somehow she was a magic user and was somehow projecting her weird dreams onto the rest of the party. So, that was fun. Yeah. Apache just said, and after that, your characters vowed never to drink again. So, yeah, that was really funny.
Very cool.
Anybody else? Okay. Let's see. Emily would like to know, and we talked a little about this potentially coming up, but I figure we can discuss it. So it was a hot topic on Twitter today. So Emily would like to know, what do you consider to be metagaming and how do you deal with it at your table? Ben, would you like to take the floor?
My God, I would. Okay, so here's the deal. There's a lot of different ways to talk about what metagaming is and isn't. I just want to say that the semantics and like the constantly like trying to shift definitions and move goalposts around for what it actually is confuses the point. It's about malicious intent. Metagaming is about intent. So if you're peeking at the monster manual to learn what the monster's weakness is, that's metagaming. That's wrong. That's bad. That's not how the game's supposed to be played. If you're reading ahead in the module so you know where the secrets are, that's not how the game's supposed to be played. If you're poring over really weird, quirky builds so that you can exploit like flaws in the system, because it's a complicated system, it's never going to be perfect. That's metagaming. You shouldn't do that. That's not how the game's supposed to be played, right? That's kind of where my head goes. Where things start to bother me is when people start to expand the definition of metagaming to include like just simple interactions with the game, which is wild to me. The example that was all over the internet today that sort of blew it up was this idea that like asking who has the highest bonus in medicine is metagaming. And I'm like, that's not metagaming. That's just playing the game. So I don't want to take up all the time ranting, but like that's my take on it. There needs to be an element of like maliciousness to it. There needs to be an element of intent, or it's not really metagaming. I think Peach is biting, just really wanting to get in on this one.
Yes. If I may. I agree a lot. I do believe metagaming is something to be explored within your own table, to discuss amongst both the DM and the players, because you can see it in different ways. For example, if the party is split, maybe one part of the party will definitely not know what the other is doing and cannot help them within certain actions, like that just makes sense. But at the same time, sometimes I feel like metagaming is taken so seriously. And it can be, let's say that your DM really doesn't like it, or maybe the players really don't want it, it can be solved by such a simple action as rolling more. A lot of times, metagaming comes down to when players are talking off roll about what's gonna happen. What are they doing? How can they help? Like, oh, see, these stats of mine are higher, or I could give you advantage with this. Oh, I have this spell. And you can just do that while rolling, It's a simple fix to anyone that's considering, like, oh, I think I'm metagaming too much, I've been discussing. And also, as well, it kind of helps to just let everyone talk in the table, Let everyone talk, roll a lot. Like, a lot of times, TTRPGs come down to communication. You have to communicate what you're thinking. Sometimes we have a big plan in our heads, and we start doing it with all the abilities we have, but we never communicate it, so it ends up clashing everything. And you're probably gonna have to metagame to make it work, at the end of the day. So yes, when you do metagame, like the examples that they just gave, they're perfect. Titi Benjamin, just if you search for what's gonna happen in the adventure or where are the treasure, that makes no sense. That's not fun at all. But if your DM is kind of picky about it and goes on with the same example that I think we all saw on Twitter of the medicine check, like if you could just roll that, just saying like anyone has good medicine skills, that's it. It comes down to that simply, I believe.
Because that's the thing, isn't it? Is that I would turn that into a kind of a role-playing point. If I was like, I could try and fix this, that I'm willing to have a go, but does somebody else know more than me? Because at the moment, I'm just kind of prodding where the wound is. Does anyone know how to actually stop this? Right. And give them a chance to kind of roleplay it and kind of,
Do I put my finger in the bullet hole?
Yeah, exactly. This is bleeding a lot. Should I just leave it? Is it fine? I think you can roleplay a lot of those kind of things where you're kind of thinking, well, I could step in, but, especially if the party have been together for a while, you would know those small things about each other, about who's particularly good at stitching people up with medicine, or, who knows all about ancient lore and history. You just think if you roleplay it a little bit more, it probably feels like a bit of a better fit, almost, if you like, rather than just going, who's got plus in this, who's got plus in that. So, but I agree with what you're saying. The moment you are looking to maliciously gain an advantage, what's the point in playing, really? Kind of like, okay, congratulations, you've won. Was it fun
I find
you beat D&D. Good job.
Good job.
yeah.
Woohoo! You made it through a dungeon and beat a dragon. Congratulations.
Yeah. I find that a lot of the discussion around metagaming comes specifically out of games which are, whether they try to or not, by their design, encourage adversarial play. So this idea of the GM against the players. So that would be like D&D, Pathfinder. They don't. There's nowhere in the rules that says that the GM and the players are opposed to one another, but just the structure of the game will tend to put people's mind in that direction, because you have the GM sat at one end of the table and the players sat around the rest of it, and so you've already, just by the structure of how you are sitting down to play, have turned it into a us against them sort of feeling. I find that doesn't really come up when you play something like Wanderhome or any of the belonging outside of belonging narrative games and stuff like that, because there is nothing built into the game that makes it adversarial. You are there to work together, and so metagaming knowledge, sure, but it's sort of it takes away the ability for there to be malicious like, how do you maliciously tell a story with your friends? Like, if there's no adversarial system for you to exist in, it's, so.
And I know that part of the question was, what do you do about it when you've got people who do want to do that? I think a big part of that's communication. So your session zeros, I think you need to be very specific about what is and isn't acceptable, and what you won't kind of, let people do almost, and get everybody's agreement upon it. But I think if you've got common enemies that people, we've all fought zombies, we've all fought skeletons, and so on and so forth. There's nothing wrong as a DM as changing some of the vulnerabilities or changing some of the kind of passive abilities. And suddenly, you've got a gelatinous cube which can set itself on fire or something along those lines. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing the guys can do about it, even though they know what they're fighting. It's all of a sudden, it's a brand new scenario for them, and it's like, there you go deal with that then.
I think especially with very common monster types, this is the example, of course, everyone is the troll, right? Yeah. Do the characters know that you have to kill the troll with fire? In my head, I think trolls are common enough, and there's probably like nursery rhymes about trolls. There's probably like bedtime stories and horror stories about trolls that like everyone knows, oh, it's a troll, kill it with fire. Like, because otherwise you have this really weird thing at the table where everyone botches their lore roll, and now everyone has to pretend that they don't know you kill the troll with fire. And so now it's like, okay, how many turns have to elapse before we use a fire ability that an acceptable amount of time has elapsed that we don't call it metagaming? So for the most part, like really common stuff, zombies, removing the head, destroying the brain, everyone knows that. For weird stuff, that's when it's like, if you know how an iron golem works and you know the exact spells to take down an iron golem, I think you're pushing it a little hard. But I think I think the line is fuzzy, but I think it's okay to just let some of that stuff slide. I don't care about metagaming almost at all. I think the characters know more about the world than we, the players, do, and even because they live in it, right? So they know stuff. It only becomes relevant when they do the lore check or when they bring it up, but they know lots of things about the world. If you think about all the stuff about our world, they know that much about theirs. So I think metagaming is a lubricant because the GM can't explain everything and have all the context and put in red herrings and discuss, you know what I mean? So the players can fill some of that in with metagaming and tropes and stuff, and that just makes everything go smoother.
Zeal Zaddy just pointed out in chat, too, the monsters in the book are the average version. They can have massive variance if you want.
Absolutely. And there's nothing, if you've got, say, a magic user who's constantly using fire, and they come up against a troll, and it's like, oh, well, I don't want to use fire because I don't know they would, it's just like, but that's what you would do anyway, so... Yeah, that's when you just do it. Just get on with it. Don't worry about it. It's fine.
Yeah, I've got my current campaign. The characters are 7th level, and there's 2 fighters in the party. So if you're playing a game like that and you're using flanking rules, if the players say, "Hey, wait, on your turn, if you move around there, we'll get an advantage." It's not metagaming. These guys are 7th level fighters. They know combat tactics. That's what they're doing. If you had Navy SEALs out there, they would know that. So basically, metagaming for me is if you're using knowledge that your character wouldn't have. That's it. And that's why it's so offensive when it really when it absolutely happens, because role-playing by definition is I am not making decisions for me. I'm making decisions based on my character. Right? So as soon as I've broken that, agreement, then it doesn't work anymore. But as far as what do we do about it, I don't have a great reason for what you would do in game, with one exception, because I try to put it aside in my session 0. Right? Because I always tell people there's no wrong way to play the game, right? But I have a way that I prefer to play the game. You're not going to be comfortable in my game if you're maximizing a build. Right? You're going to be comfortable in my game if you have a character concept and you develop a character. So I'll tell them that outright. This might just not be a game for you, right? We're not compatible as players and DMs. It doesn't mean that either one of us is wrong. It's just you would be better off to find a different game. So
100%.
you could, that way, maybe you can avoid it up front. Except I've taught a lot of classes to teenagers about D&D. And then you have to assume they are going to do it, and you have to say, well, wait a minute, your character wouldn't know that, because now it's an educational opportunity.
That's one of the things that I look at a lot. Like, do I have knowledge about the game that my character doesn't know? But I think between you, Jason, and Ben, you sort of hit it. Like, my character knows more about the world than I do. So there are times that my character is going to know stuff that I might just be like, yeah, sure, I'm going to roll with that. But there's also going to be times when, I know something that happened because I was sitting there even though the party was split. Like, the party split up for a little bit. I heard what happened with the other group because we were all sitting at the same table. If I act on that, that would be metagaming. That's how I see it. Like, if I act on that knowledge before it was shared with my character, that would be metagaming. Because I know it, my character does not.
That's a really good example. I don't know how I got this lucky, but my table has a certain joy in the dramatic irony of that exact situation. They enjoy knowing the thing that happened in the other scene, and then doing what their character was going to do anyway, even if it undermines that scene, and everyone thinks that's the funniest freaking thing. I like it too, but it's like, yeah, they enjoy that aspect of it.
Yeah, we had that in one of our games where it's only a small game. There's only 3 of us in it, but one of us was in the Feywild, one of us wasn't, and I had to take on like a hag, and I was just like, this is brilliant. I've got a set of spells. I'm going to banish this. Fantastic. And I could just see our ranger who was in the Feywild going, if you're going to do that, it's going to pop right next to me. I'm going to have to deal with it. And he was just like, yeah, okay, I'm just going to sit here. That's what's going to happen. And it was brilliant. And he just played with it. And it was just like, well, my character, it was the most obvious thing to do, to get it out of the way so we could deal with the other enemies. And it was brilliant. It was perfect. It worked really well because we just knew that you wouldn't know that, I wouldn't know that. Off you go.
I should say that even though I said generally I'm trying to avoid this situation, if you're a DM in that situation and you've got players who, I own and have read every WotC product, go get the Kobold Press Tome of Foes books, because those monsters are serious. If they don't know them, yeah, they'll be scared like they would be in real life.
I have that player. I solved it the other way. I told him, okay, you're going to play a smart character then, and I need you to take a bunch of knowledge skills so that we can justify you just knowing all this crap. Because I don't feel like dancing around what you know.
I know what character that is then.
Great idea. Yeah. That's a really good idea.
Also, I believe as well, there's some situations, just to add a little something, where there will be metagaming. I think something that we also have to understand is that people slip up, especially with metagaming, because sometimes it's hard to just not understand that you didn't see that. Like something that happens all the time is like, let's say the rogue, the typical rogue just went to slip something, a little something from someone in a tavern or whatever, and the bard says, okay, I'm gonna help them, I'm gonna tickle the balls of the person, whatever, I'm gonna jump out the window. And like, yeah, that's metagaming. Like, as a DM, you can say like, hey, roll an intelligence check to see if a perception, to see if you realize the rogue did it. But at the same time, it can be fun, and people will sometimes accidentally metagame to smaller things, and I believe you can let that pass.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's a good anybody have something else they
No,
wanted to add real quick?
there is a way that you can weave it into your story too, right? Like, I had one time when this minotaur from outside the city, they were underground in the city, and how would you know anything about dwarven construction? That doesn't make any sense. But I said, okay, You can roll your history check, but it's going to be really. Oh, he rolled a nat 20. But then we just had to weave it into the story, right? His best friend growing up was a dwarf who came from the city, and blah blah blah. There's always ways around it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this is probably a good place for us to pause and take a quick break. So we are going to do that. Chat, while we are at break, make sure you go check out Benjamin's Kickstarter so that you're all set for tomorrow. Make sure you do that. Also, in chat, I need you to drop an animal and a verb ending in ing. Just, please do that. And we will be back in just a couple of minutes. Raiders, I see you. I see you coming in. We're just going to break. We'll be back very shortly. Welcome in and sit tight. We'll be back to answer more questions. So we'll see you in a few minutes.
The room glows up, its light getting brighter and brighter. A moment later, it fades away and you find yourself in a different environment. The air you breathe feels empty. Faith Reborn is a 5th edition adventure that leads your group into a post-apocalyptic land to save a dying man. Faith Reborn. Get your copy now on Roll20 and DriveThruRPG.
All right, we're back and we have a puppy.
It's Mildred.
Hi, Mildred. She's so cute.
Hi, Mildred.
I love her.
Oh,
I've never even met her in person and I love her.
so cute.
Yes, Molly, I know. I see you here. Molly's here too. She just would like everybody to know.
Oh, hi, Molly.
Okay. I'm gonna let her back into the living room.
Good plan. All right. I love it. I love it so much. Okay. Well, Ben does that. I'm going to pull up the next question. Let's see. Where are we going to? All right. Here comes Ben. All right. The next question is from Indigo Soul, and they would like to know, how do you deal with the frustration of rolling awfully a bunch of times in a D&D session, or in any setting, honestly?
Well, I've had quite a bit of that. Lately, my rolls have been very good. The dice gods have blessed me. I'll take on the tactic of Benjamin of having them on a very weird dice plate. But besides from, with the cursed $3 dice, which is, well, I can imagine there in America and in Canada and UK, it can be quite cheap, but here in Venezuela, $3 is too much. All of my first session, I was rolling so bad for the bard. The only thing that saved me is that we are 2 bards in my campaign. And it was so frustrating. It can be quite tiring. You can feel like you're not using your potential. Oh, why did I choose this subclass? Why am I choosing these spells? They're not doing anything. And it's quite discouraging. But, I guess, besides cursing at the die and maybe hiding it on a cabinet and putting it to punishment, something that helped me a lot to go through that was teamwork. I chose to, instead of trying to roll the best die possible with the spells that I had chosen and stuff, to work with others and help others so, we can have more chances. Maybe like a Dissonant Whispers is not gonna cause all the harm that I want, but if I go for a Fairy Fire, I think that's what it's called in English. Fuego Férico, I don't remember the English name.
Yep, Fairy Fire.
You can help others, and maybe it's not, if it's a bunch of enemies, there's a big chance one will lose that dexterity save. And it just helps go through that weird moment of, oh my god, what is going on with you guys? Please help me. So yeah, just helping others.
Oh, go ahead.
No, please, after you.
Oh, no, I insist.
Oh, no, please.
Okay, all right, very good. Legit, I can't stand having a bad night with the dice, I get tilted. I get it. I'm like, oh, this sucks. I never want to play the TTRPG games ever again. So the way I just kind of double down and I just push through it and I just do more stupid and reckless stuff. Kind of hoping that if I'm doing unpredictable things, that even if they fail, I have been a sufficient enough distraction and hit point sponge that the rest of my team can come in and mop up after me.
I think for me, I try to incorporate into a kind of a role-playing point of view. But sometimes it's quite fun failing. It helps build the character almost. I've done that a few times where, you've missed a spell and start feeding off. So in the game I played yesterday, me and the ranger we are friends, but it's that kind of enemy friends who do everything to take the mickey out of each other. And so when you fail, I just know that he's going to have some ridiculous quip to come back at me about how terrible I am, and we kind of just use that to create, I guess, good storytelling and role playing. And so sometimes it's actually quite funny to fail 3 or 4 times because I'm sat there going, yeah, okay, here we go. He's gonna absolutely rip into me now, but I know I get my revenge, so it's fine. And I think sometimes that can help, especially if it's on similar things. It can help build the character, so you can start to get little traits which suddenly come out when you know that it might be a difficult role, and I guess does make the successes that much sweeter as well. So when you then get that 20 when you desperately need it, it's such a kind of rush. So yeah, I just try and role play through it, I guess.
Really quickly, I want to shout out a couple more donations that have come in for the charity stream. We had a $20 donation and another donation from Allie Knight that came in, so we are up to $1,940. We're so close, you guys. So close.
Show me the money.
Exclamation point donate if you want to donate. For people who came in a little late, we are raising money for Casa de Colores. They are a LGBTQ plus migrant refugee support program helping migrant refugees from Central and Latin America, predominantly trans migrant refugees. So you can give them a look. You can find out more about them. You can find out more about all of the incentives for donating and everything. Exclamation point donate will take you right to the donation link. If you go down into the about section below the stream, you'll see something that says Casa de Colores, and you can click that, and that'll give you a little more information about everything. So check that out.
As far as the failing a bunch of rolls or being unlucky, well, as I said, I am a GM like 95% of the time, so I don't personally have that, but I have to stop and deal with how do I deal with it with my players when it happens to them. But I think it's actually really realistic, though, if you think about our real lives, right? We all have bad days, good days, great days, bad weeks. So the fact that you could have a bunch of bad things happen at once is actually pretty realistic. But that doesn't help the player when it's happening at the time. I do some of what Tal said, though. Like, one of my groups I've been playing with for years, and they're really good players. So if I thought it was actually happening enough, I might wrap it into the story. You know, what malevolent spirit did you irritate who's now manipulating your luck, right? But like I said before, I have run a lot of games where I've taught it to like teenagers. And then you have to read your audience, because some of these kids could go home crying, and that's not what we're here for, right? We're all here to have fun. So in that case, you might have to say, oh, wait, you have advantage because of blah, 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 blah. Which doesn't, I'm not advocating softening everything, nothing's, making everything easy, but certain cases, yeah, you're not gonna make somebody really upset about it.
I more often these days play games like Powered by the Apocalypse games, which have a graduated success system. Or I play narrative games in which there is no dice rolling. But for times that I do play like Dungeons and Dragons or anything like that, I have sort of adopted like a graduated success system for D&D, where if the DC for a skill check, for instance, is 15 and you get like a 12 to 14, you've failed. I mean, very, very, say it's a knowledge check, very rarely do you just not remember anything about the thing that you're trying to remember. You remember bits and pieces of it. And then sometimes if it's a worse failure than that, I have them, they do remember something, and I tell them what they remember, and it's most likely wrong, but they remembered it. And the story continues on from there. So it's a great way to add a little bit of a character moment of your character is not flawless. That's they would be really boring if they were. So enjoy.
I love graduated success systems. I think that's one of the best innovations that Powered by the Apocalypse gave to us. Quest uses graduated success systems as well, and it's just my favorite. We actually had a session 2 weeks ago where I think we had one roll above a 10 all day, and it was brutal. But as a DM, it's helpful when the players are just having a crap night with the dice to try to find ways to help them fail forward, to try to help them feel like they're making progress, even though they're rolling like crap. It might be grueling. You might attach damage or like modifiers or up the stakes or create situations where like, okay, you thought this was going to be easy, but now it's like way harder. But at least they feel like they're clawing victory from the jaws of defeat, even when they're rolling really poorly. And that can be a good way to raise morale. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love
definitely.
Blades in the Dark, where success with a consequence. That's like just brilliant.
Yeah, and I'll do failures for things like, say picking a lock, where they fail the dice roll, and I'll just be like, yeah, okay, you successfully picked the lock, but you broke your lock pick.
That's great.
So you got what you wanted in the short term, but there are consequences down the line if you encounter another lock or another trap or...
Yeah, you pick the lock, and then you open the door, and it was that exact moment that the patrol was walking by. Like, yeah, that kind of...
Absolutely.
I'm setting up a game now in a system called The Darkest House, a Monty Cook game. There's a separate die that represents bad things happening to you, but it's completely separated from your success. So you could roll an absolute success, but oh, by the way, there's a ghost who eats your head behind you.
Wow.
Wait, that's what's gonna happen? I am out.
That's very specific.
I want a ghost to eat my head. Can I play?
Maybe that's the success you were looking for. I don't know.
Oh, here's
Congratulations, you've opened a window.
that brings up a really good point too. As a DM, once again, if the players are just having a crap night, I think it's really important to not make the players feel like buffoons when they fail every time. I think it's important to, if a roll gets missed, maybe make it seem like an unlucky thing happened rather than the player is an idiot and they drop their sword and they fall on it and their pants fall down and ha ha ha. You know what I mean? Like, because people are okay feeling flawed. They're not okay feeling like idiots. I think unless they're playing a buffoon, then let them narrate how stupid they are. Like, that's fine. But like otherwise, like if you can remove the reason they failed from the character's power so that the character still feels confident despite failing, that can sometimes mitigate the bad effects of just having a rough night.
One of the things that I really like, and I know Quest does this, and Ben, I know you did it a lot even before your podcast switched over to using Quest, is the difficult choice. And so if you don't roll well, you have to make a tough choice. And I just think that's really great because it could be like you throw your sword halfway across the room, or you hang on to your sword, but your arm gets bitten off. You know, like something like that. I mean, let them decide.
Wow, that's a really good one. I hadn't thought of that one.
Yeah.
I think
You know,
also a
the
system that manages fails really well. I don't know if any of you have played this. It's pretty famous, Iron Sworn or Starforged.
Mhm.
They do it super interestingly because you have to build the story on your own. Well, you can have a GM, but the successes and the fails, they both can build story, and they are made exactly for that. So whenever you roll as a fail oracle table, very much to like what uh, Jason was saying, you roll on the fail table, and something will happen that will both develop the story but also be a fail. So it's a much more manageable way to do it, and it's so fun.
I think the other thing is you can also, which I've seen done before, is kind of store up consequences. So whilst they might fail, then you could just go, okay, so I'm just going to take this, and you'll see the benefits or reap the issue maybe a day down the line, and that way you can spread it out a little bit, and it doesn't feel like it's all coming in one big chunk.
I love doing that. The players, I make a big show of it. They'll roll a natural one, and I'll just be like, I'm just going to take that. This is my natural one, and I'm going to save it for later. The thing you wanted to do succeeds.
However,
It's wonderful. It's so
it is
malicious.
good fun. It is good fun, and especially when you can use it in just the right circumstances.
Yeah. I mean, what
Great
Ben's
storytelling.
saying makes a lot of sense, though, that there are lots of ways and reasons you might fail, and they shouldn't all be put on the character, right? That a wind could blow in, and a wind gust blows your arrow off, or something like that. There were a lot of knockoffs of D&D in the very early days, and a lot of them use that mechanic. If you roll a 1, your sword breaks. And it's like, that's 5% of the time. Would I really go out and fight dragons if my sword had a 5% chance of just snapping in half? Oh, yeah, it doesn't always have to be the character's fault.
But
Now,
if your sword does keep breaking, that's a storyline of going back to the swordsmith and going, hey, what is going on here?
No, what are you
Have a
doing to my
conversation about
sword?
your
Little
crafting
did you
skills. You've
know-
got a serious problem here.
A little did you know that your weapon maker is actually working for the dragon. And he's
Yeah,
supplying you with bad swords.
New quest: unionize against the blacksmith company.
All the Monty Cook Cypher games actually use that mechanic that when you roll a 1, something happens. It's called the GM intrusion. And all that means is the story changes direction. So sometimes it's fall and hit your head. Sometimes it's a monster comes from the secret door, but sometimes it's just something different. It doesn't have to always be bad. And then there's also the case that if that happens, which this might happen in the next version of D&D, but if you roll on that 1, something bad happens and you get a card to spend later to make something good happen. So
And Monsters of the Week
another
does that in terms of experience, doesn't it? If you fail
yeah,
on Monsters of the Week, you gain experience points.
there's a possibility we might get that in D&D 1. There's a lot of talk about that, but we'll see.
All right. Well, we had an Ask My Question next come in, so we are going to jump to that one. And this one comes in from Starry Night, and they would like to know, what source of inspiration do you typically draw from? Let it be books, TV shows, movies, mythology, folklore, urban legends, weird news articles, or anything else.
Okay, I might start with this one because this is a handful for me. If you know me at all in my very much starting place in the TTRPG community, you might know that almost all of my writings, you can find them on my Twitter, draw inspiration from my culture. And a lot of it is from my indigenous ancestry, which is the Waikari. I personally do not consider myself part of the Waikari tribe, but my third last name is Gonzalo Ortiz Waikirian. My grandpa is Waikari, my tatarabuelo was from the tribe, lived in. So there's a long line of indigenous ancestry from there. And something that I see a lot within the TTRPG community is the fact that mythology, and especially Latin American mythology, is represented mainly through Mayan, Aztec, and Incan cultures, which is very understandable. They were the biggest empires of what was the indigenous ancestry here in Latin America. But I believe there is so much to do from what is Ibero, no sé cómo, I do not know how do you say it in English, Iberoamerican, culturas iberoamericanas or mesoamericanas.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically, all that is the Colombian indigenous ancestry, Venezuelan indigenous ancestry, Panama, República Dominicana, Dominican Republic, they have so much to offer because in or mágico religioso systems or mythology, it was based mostly within the self nature, and a lot of the stories were based around that. So you can draw it a lot to the earth. You can make it more face to face with your players, with your characters that you create. And that is something I love to do in my writings. You can find it a lot in what little I have posted. I have only started to post only 2 short stories, but I've been writing so much, so very soon I'll be posting more. And the whole world that I'm building around Shearwater, the Inabe mountain range, and all that I'm doing, it is mainly drawn from that Waikeri culture. So it's a lot about the power of the sea, the power of the Hembus, your Chanaimas, and a lot of it also when you come to futuristic stuff, the dystopia that is the Macondo, like I don't know if any of you have read Cien años de soledad, 100 years of solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. Well, Macondo. When you see the societal form of Latin America, and very much specifically Venezuela, which is where I'm at, you can see a lot of how this very ambience of we're still Latin America, we went through an industrial revolution like a slap in the face, and we didn't really know how to manage it. So you can see the mix between what was the old post-colonial art of Latin America and the new dystopian huge concrete cities that had no fucking urban planning. They just threw it out the window. And when you translate that to TTRPGs, a lot of times cyberpunk, for example, is based on Orientalism. But when you translate a post-colonial jungle concrete, like concrete jungle, I mean, it can be so amazing. So yes, I encourage you to research about it. There's a lot of documentaries about, like Caracas, especially. There's a lot of info you can find about that, and I recommend that you think about it. Think about hiring artists from other Latin American countries and cities to inspire yourself in your TTRPGs. It is so amazing to do, and I am in the TTRPG community because of that. I want to bring all that I can bring into this world because it is super fun. Again, you can have possums that are called pelao or pastel with tongo, So yeah, there's a lot to give. That's my 2 cents.
Holy shit, that was awesome.
Off you go, Ben. Well done.
Did you say that you're working on a setting that's a post-colonial concrete jungle?
Pretty much.
Is that what I heard? So is it like, so it's not a dystopia, it's actually like a good city, or?
I am working on one that's a dystopia. It is a dystopia. It's like Mad Max style. It's very much based on a set of comics that was made here in Venezuela that's called Camioneticas de Combate Go, which is basically like a death race of public buses. And there's another one where it's the contrary. It is basically, well, of course, as a world, there's conflict and there's various levels of what is good and what's not. But it is mostly based around how this can be a good thing and how this can be very new to the TTRPG community. So yeah, both, I would say.
We should talk, because I'm trying to do a post-apocalyptic, like, good city setting too. We should chat sometime.
Ooh.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good thing to point out that, I should do more research and I should broaden my perspective, but realistically, I don't want to write it. I want you to write it. We've gotten a lot better, but there's too many people who look like me in this industry.
So for anybody who knows Jamie Moonchild, they were on one of the earlier streams today. They are working on something sort of similar to what you were just talking about, Peach, but they are working on Hawaiian culture and sort of a lot of similar things that you were talking, colonialism and wanting to honor you know, a lot of the culture of Hawaii and all of that. So it's really all of the players that they have for the game are all Indigenous people of color, all members of the LGBTQ community. All of the artists are people of color, you know. So it's really cool when sort of like Jason said, like, I like it, like, there's a lot of people that look like Jason and I in the community, and so it's great when people who have lived experience in those cultures are able to write it, because I would never be able to do it justice, and I would never be able to give it the same voice that you could. So I love it. I love it. I love it when people are willing to share their knowledge of their culture in a way that makes it accessible to everybody else.
That's awesome.
I agree.
Changing gears a bit, one of the things that I like to pull out for like a modern game or for something like a Monster of the Week or something like that, if you're very lucky and you can still find it at the checkout counter at a grocery store, Weekly World News is a wonderful publication with ridiculous articles. This is where you get like the ongoing saga of the Bat Boy.
Yes.
And all of the wonderful conspiracy theories and stuff like that. So if you are playing anything like Delta Green or Monster of the Week or any type of modern setting game and you want to throw like a story in there, not only does Weekly World News make wonderful inspiration to pull a story out and have the investigators go after, but they are excellent like table props for your game, because that's where you can start the story from, is that you can hand it to your players and be like, yeah, you're just thumbing through and you find like this story about or the agent in charge like tosses a Weekly World News on the table opened up to the story about like the Bat Boy attends opera at the Met, and you know.
But, sorry, was that story actually in there?
Oh no, I just made it up.
I mean, it could have been.
Yeah.
God damn it,
sure
Dark
it
Lord
could have
Canada!
been.
How did you let this leak? How did they find out again where Bat Boy is?
Yeah.
You're saying it didn't happen, Tal?
Yeah.
Oh no. I suspect somewhere Batboy is sat in the rafters enjoying some Verde, perhaps.
That's a great. I should try that next time I do a modern one shot. Just open up to Weekly World News and see what we get.
It's online as well, like, you know,
Yeah.
as all newspapers are, but
Right.
definitely if you can
using it
find
as a
the print
prop.
copy.
That's so cool. Just slap it in front of the players.
Yeah.
It's even fun if you want to improv really hard. It's even fun to just like give that to them as the like, here, read through and tell me what you're interested in looking into, and then you just like improv a story from there.
Yeah, that would
Much
be
fun.
very cool.
Or
Also,
for my part, my favorite writer is Isaac Asimov, and what Asimov does, his writing style, is he takes like one idea and he just blows it up. He just rewrites the entire world with this idea in mind. So that's kind of how I approach when I'm building things out, and I've found that I can just keep cascading things outward by asking what if. So Isaac Asimov wrote all of the robot short stories and all the robot novels with just the 3 laws as kind of the nucleus, the heart of those, and it's just so many freaking words. And so when I built the world for Lawful Great Adventures, the Decidiac world, what I did was I said, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the Pantheon be based on the major arcana of the tarot, and we're going to see just what that feels like, and we're going to let it fly out from there. So there's 22 gods, and each god is its own major arcana. And you know what's really interesting about it is it's a very different feel, the relationship between humans and divinity when you're using the tarot, because the tarot is so wrapped up in personal human experience. I feel like there's the players have a relationship to the deities the way that I've never seen in any other game that I've run, where you've got like a god of fire and a god of good and a god of death, and you got like those are all sort of really ephemeral. This is like, these are personal, right? There's a god of revolution. There's a god of just leadership. There's a god of taking risks. And they feel connected when they take a risk. They're like, oh yeah, Mercatus, back me up here. Like, it's really cool. So that's kind of where I just take an idea and I just expand it as hard as I can. And that has worked out for me really well so far.
No, go ahead.
I know, please.
Well, I was just going to say, when I started fantasy, I think like a lot of people my age, it was Tolkien and Piers Anthony and all the people at the beginning of fantasy. But really, the reason I started using Cipher System is so I can tell those kind of modern stories. But I got to most of my inspiration for those comes from pop culture. I have a one-shot out there that where it's role-playing, but you play heavily inspired by the Clue board game. So you play a character on those, and you may or may not be the murderer. The last one I did, you play a character from Gilligan's Island, but you're marooned on the land of the lost with the big dinosaurs. And so I just take them from anywhere.
I tend to be quite visual in the way I kind of think about things and the way I do things. So some of it is just as basic as just daydreaming and just let go of everything and just whatever's in there, just write it down and see what kind of comes out of it. Or I'll use something like Pinterest or Pickspace, something on those lines, and just type in a couple of words and just scroll through all the kind of visual images, and if something kind of catches my eye, what kind of story is it telling me? So the kind of what, why, when, where, how, and just do that maybe 2 or 3 times. Just see what it kind of builds up. So, trying to give me maybe 3 or 4 different insights into this one image, whatever it is, and then kind of going, okay, does any of that speak to me? Does it give me something where I think I really like that, I find it really interesting, or does it spark another idea which I can then broaden out and make bigger and bolder? So yeah, it's definitely more visual imagery than perhaps reading as much. I think it's I don't know, maybe it's just something just needs to stimulate something in my brain to give me that kind of, okay, I like this because of, and it could be something really simple in the corner which just makes you go, okay, I really like that because that's going to be, something important to my players later on.
All right. I want to make sure we have time to get to this. So, anybody who would like to, Emily's favorite question ever. 60-second villain monologue for anybody who would like to do one.
I'll start. I love starting the 60-second villain monologue. Okay. So the scene is this. It's a courtyard in the back of a plantation-style mansion in the deep south. The character is a John Goodman-looking dude in, like, the white suit. He's got the hat, he's got the cigar, and he's got a cane with a lion head on it. And he's kicking back on his couch while the party walks in to confront him. And he's kind of, like, staring off into space, and he pipes up with, "You know why I love lions so much, you pups? It's because of how they assemble their tribes, you see. It's the women folk, you understand? It's the women folk do all the hunting. They do all the work. And it's the men who lay around, take care of the kids, make sure they are raised right. That's how I see you all. I see you all as little lion cubs that I've been trying to raise right. Now tell me this, pups. What happens when one of them lion cubs starts to teeth, maybe bites his pappy too hard, That's right. Pappy bites back. And then you see the claws. You see the hackles come up. You see the power of the mane. That's why they call lions the king of the jungle. And that's why they call me Jethro Ignatius, the king of oil here in Mississippi. So why don't you do your worst? And let's see if you can handle my claws. And then he snaps his fingers, and like the mezzanine on the back of the courtyard, there's like 8 dudes come out with machine guns, and that's like how it goes. And then he flips the lion head thing open, and there's a red button, and he just sort of holds his thumb over it, and he's like, "Try your best, kids." All right, cool. There, that's it.
All right, now y'all have to go after that.
Oh my god, that's brilliant. Love that.
Who's going?
Anybody else want to go?
All right. So this is a character from my last D&D campaign. But he's not the BBEG. He is like the BBEG's assistant. His name is Ren. Are you surprised to see me? I would. Because of the "you killed me" thing. Yeah. Or was it the time before that you killed me before that? you thought that would stick? More than that. I could do so much as my mistress commands. Oh, yes, you. Yes, that's a great sword you've got there. Or would you like to do it again? Would you like to combat? Perhaps you could. Then what? You could hear her, right? She's right upstairs. I think she's in her dragon form today. No, don't rush. She's a lady. She is more than a dragon. She is why I'm here. Soon enough, why you won't be. She is the Raven Queen.
Okay.
All right.
I think I can go.
Okay.
I'm gonna try.
Go for it.
We're gonna go for this. Okay. Here we go. We're gonna start like this. Well, I am Dr. Wolfberg, and this is my log number 192. I cannot believe it's been so many days since it first started. As you might sense, things have changed for the worst. But if you know anything about me, you know it didn't start off bad. It didn't start off like this. It was just for the Amino community. It's just for what I was getting through this to everyone else around me, but now it has turned into something much worse. And it's their fault. They made it this way. They chose to uncontain it, to make it free. And I don't know if I can keep it in anymore. The silliness is taking over. When the moon rises and Avril Lavigne starts playing, I don't know if things will change. Sure as hell that the silliness will take over. But for now, there's no longer scientific updates to be done. Only more sounds to be played. Dr. Wolfenberg off.
Very cool.
Yes.
You guys are all so good at this.
If anyone in the chat got the references, please say it. Scream it up.
Suppose I better do it, hadn't I? Okay, so two men in dripping trench coats standing on a bridge in the darkness as the rain beats down, and both got slick back hair, both holding guns outstretched at each other. And one of them just turns and says, "We both knew it would end like this, didn't we, Jacob? Ever since we started on this venture, I don't think either of us knew that we'd make it out of this alive. The question is, which one of us is righteous and which one of us is going to hell? For me, for all the things I've done, I know I'm already going to hell. But God damn it, I'm taking you with me." Something like that.
Yeah, I've got nothing that could top any of that, so I'm just gonna.
It's all good. I'm always like, this is all you guys.
I will say that I tend to run villains who don't tend to monologue, like their subordinates might monologue, but the actual villain themselves is just in the background, like getting stuff done. So, you know, very, very much that Ozymandias from the Watchmen thing of like, oh, you thought, oh, I hit the switch like 20 minutes ago. I've just been chatting with you to kill time.
Yeah, I mean, that one line goes 10 times harder than any villain monologue ever has. So, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. We are getting to that point where we are going to have to start wrapping up for the night. Hard to believe. But before we go around and have everybody remind us of who you are and where we can find you on social media, I have been playing Mad Libs with chat all night. So I need to read what they came up with. So this is from the Dungeons & Dragons Mad Libs book. And this one is called Adventure Awaits. Those who have yeeted even a single game of Dungeons and Sheep, aka D&D, know adventure waits those who dare to metagame it. Whether you're uncovering silly, world-ending cookies, slaying a mad penguin that is cuddling villagers, or casting a spell to subdue a dragon with 2 hairs, your bravery is sure to be rewarded. You can explore anything from tiny dungeons, haunted taverns, and mysterious chambers filled with glittering grandmas, to even a floofy relationship. Speaking of relationships, role-playing or drinking your character is a green part of the fun. Similar to any adventure, you get what you munching into it, so look alive, be wary of anyone who acts a bit too quickly, and onward, jeepers. So thanks for that, chat.
Amazing.
Last year I know somebody who played that Mad Penguin.
I would totally go into a dungeon to save the glittering grandmas.
Right?
They make the best cookies.
That's like, we need that now.
Beware, grandmas, the bards are coming.
Right?
Also, I vote that Onward Jeepers should become the unofficial motto of all tabletop role-playing gaming.
Onward jeepers.
Onward Jeepers. Yeah.
I think the next mount that one of my characters has is going to be named Jeepers, and then I can just be like, Onward Jeepers!
Perfect.
All right, so let's go around and have everyone again just remind us of who you are, where we can find you on social media. If you have anything to promote, Benjamin, this would be a great time to do that. And we're going to actually kick it off with you. We'll go in the reverse order of when we started. But one last thing I want to say. We only need $37 more. And then Lord Richter will take it home with the last 20. So we're like this close, you guys. Like, come on.
Yeah.
37.
Come on, y'all. Help trans immigrants. Let's go.
Let's do it. All right. TT Benjamin, take it away.
Hey, everybody. I'm TT Benjamin. You can find me on Twitter at TTBenjamin1. I'm the host and guide of the Lawful Great Adventures podcast, a quest podcast about 4 friends on a long journey home. You can also catch me on Thursdays with Atomic Zero on Esper Genesis Revelations, where I play Asimov. You can catch me on Fridays with Roll for Chaos, where I play the Reverend Parson Roland St. James September. on delinquents. But the big thing that I'm here to promote tonight and every night for the next 2 months of my life is Adversary, coming to Kickstarter tomorrow. That's right, coming to Kickstarter in 11 hours. Oh, Anonymous Dono. Anonymous Dono. Look at the chat.
We did it. Anonymous Dono.
Outstanding.
Anyway, check out the links that are getting dropped into chat for the Kickstarter for Adversary. Adversary is a narrative, GM-less, genre-less deck building game that is the fight against evil. So what you're going to do is you're going to skip to the end. You and your friends are going to skip to the end. You're going to fight the final bad guy of the campaign. You're going to do a villain monologue. It's going to be sick. And every time you take a turn, you're going to flash back to a moment in that campaign that's going to help you fall in love with the characters and tell the story of that journey in a single 2 to 3 hour sitting. It's a great party game. It's great when someone's missing from the table. It's great for charity streams. Actually, I really want to do it for some charity streams. That's going to be a lot of fun. So check it out on Kickstarter. Toss us a follow at the link given, Adversary, and watch for the campaign to launch literally tomorrow morning. I am going to be having a panic attack for the next 2 months of my life. If you need me, you will find me in the hills.
Breathing into
Thank
a
you,
paper
Luna.
bag very quickly.
And then, of course, Luna, I would be remiss if I didn't mention. Thank you so much for having me for one more go around this month. It's been a pleasure. I've been on this show a lot. I really appreciate our friendship. I really appreciate all the people that I've met. I've met some people tonight that I want to keep in touch with. This is a very special place, and this has been a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Thank you. I am very glad that we got to have you on just before your Kickstarter, and I hope it's wildly successful. I'm really excited for you, and yeah, I'm looking forward to all the things that you have coming up. So we broke the donation goal. We finished the night with $2,010. So thank you.
Brilliant.
To the anonymous donation of $37, to Alex Roque, who donated another $10, and then, of course, we polished it off with Lord Richter with his final $20 donation. So thank you guys all so much. It's really nice that we can finish off the weekend having broke that $2,000 goal. All right, Tal, let's go over to you.
Oh, sorry, I'm supposed to follow that, am I? Oh,
I know.
Okay. I should really just go and say follow Ben's Kickstarter. That's nice and easy, isn't it?
Hey, yeah, you play a lot of narrative games. Let's get a sit together. Let's do a playtest sometime. You and some buddies. Let's go.
100% done.
Yeah.
Works for me.
All right, great. So they're going to do a play test and then tell us all about it.
Yes, done. So I'm Tal Woodblaze. You can find me mostly over on Twitter at The Gamer's Rest. So I am a freelance writer and designer of TTRPGs. And on my Ko-fi, you can check out my monthly subscription, which features an ongoing adventure for your D&D campaign and other handouts based on my own homebrew world. And
Awesome.
100% as well. Thanks for having me. It's been amazing as always.
Tal, thank you so much for coming on. I'm sad that we didn't hear anything from your dogs
No,
tonight.
I know. They've been brilliant. They've been well behaved.
They were very well behaved. Usually they like to make their voices known in the second half,
do.
so I'm impressed that they slept through it all this time. So yes, thank you for coming on, and thank you for staying up super late to hang out with us tonight. So I appreciate it. Peach?
Well, with more confidence and striving to the TTRPG community, hello, pretty people. I am Pete. I am a writer. I center a lot around my culture and the things that I do. And you can find me mainly on Twitter at Peach_writings. And I just opened my Ko-fi, which you will find there. And I'll be posting weekly short stories, NPC builds, everything around the beautiful world that I'm building, which what we already talked in this stream. And well, you can also find my contact Gmail if you want to hire me for some freelance writing or new TTRPG worlds that you can build with me. And thank you so much for having me. I would not imagine this would be so much fun. It was a pleasure to be here and meet you all and interact with the chat. And I hope to be here anytime again soon. So yeah, thank you.
It was great to have you, and I'm glad that we've been able to get you connected to some people in the community, and now that you're meeting people, the rest is cake. So so that'll be good. I'm looking forward to seeing what you have coming up, and can't wait to hear more. So awesome, thank you, Jason.
Right. Thank you, Luna, for having us all on. I am Jason. You know me everywhere else as Shadowmane because that's where I spend most of my time. Created that website where we write articles, we highlight other people's video content, we interview other notaries in the TTRPG space. And if I have any other free time, I GM lots of games and once in a while publish one-shots for various game systems. And I support Ben's Kickstarter, so go out there tomorrow and follow it.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on and hanging out tonight, and for letting me write on your blog. And Brent.
Yeah. My name is Brent, Dorklord Canada on most of the socials. The two big things that I have coming up, starting this Thursday and probably every Thursday through to the end of the year, I'm going to be running solo TTRPGs in support of Extra Life. I've been fundraising for them for like 10 years now. And this is the first year I've had the wherewithal to do streaming on my own. So I'm really excited to show off some awesome indie solo TTRPGs to the community. And come the game day on November 5th, I will also be doing 24 hours of solo TTRPGs. So you can come tune in starting at 8 a.m. Mountain, so 10 a.m. Eastern.
Yep.
You can come watch me play a bunch of games and my slow descent into fatigue-induced madness.
So how does that work if you fall in the category of daylight savings time?
So a lot of people think that you have to do a 25th hour in order to make up for that, but actually if you sit down and crunch the numbers, you don't.
Okay.
So
That's just been decided.
not gonna. Well, no, because people can do. I leave it as an object for people. They can do the math on their own. But I've done the math, and it still works out to finish off at the 24 hours later. Anyway, the other big project that I'm super excited about. We're recording this weekend next, and we'll be airing it in December after we've edited and added cool music and everything. We're doing Ways and Wanderings, the beginning, which is going to be a 2-episode recorded and edited actual play of the Wanderhome RPG by Possum Creek Games. It's going to be on the Bardic Inspiration Network, and then it will also go and live on their YouTube channel when we're done. It features a wonderful cast. Abaddon, Anne, Jess, Chrissy, Wowzers, myself acting as a guide, and it's going to be some phenomenal narrative storytelling. So if you like a sort of Studio Ghibli feel to your game of anthropomorphic monsters, anthropomorphic animals in a world where all of the livestock is then insects, this is the setting for you to come and watch. Yeah.
I've heard really good
I freaking
things
love
about that game.
Wanderhome so much.
Yeah,
I
I've heard
love
really
that
good
game
things.
so much.
I hadn't even heard about it. I'm gonna research all about it now.
Yeah, so
Wanderhome
gorgeous.
is great.
Yeah. Love a book where, like, even if I never got the chance to play it, just reading the book was such a beautiful, wonderful experience. Like, it's just, again, it's one of the belonging outside of belonging system games, and it's just...
Oh, it's amazing, isn't it?
That's great.
Sorry.
Awesome. Well, Brent, good luck with your fundraising. That's really exciting. I'm a big advocate for Extra Life and did a big fundraiser for them back in the summer. So I'm excited for you, and I wish you lots of luck. I hope it's fantastic. I am and continue to be Gamer Mom Luna. This has been Tales from the Tavern. We're here for a few more weeks. And then you can check out all the little tiny interviews that are over on shadowmane.com. Those gets posted every Wednesday. I think we have them scheduled all the way through the rest of this year. So there's lots of them coming up. And yeah, I also write over on the Shadowmane website. I've got an article dropping tomorrow about house rules. I think I talked to Ben about that a little bit, or I was going to, or I don't know, I might have.
I think I was going to talk to you, and I've been ignoring you for a week and a half now. So,
so
not
sad.
ducking you, I promise.
It's not like you have a Kickstarter launching or anything. And thank you again to everybody who donated, participated, was in charge of the fundraiser this weekend. Dreamy Ray did a fantastic job putting the whole thing together. I literally just provided the space. I did none of the work. So really all kudos to Ray for the whole thing. And really, really nice job with everybody for everything with everybody. I can't even word anymore, so I'm gonna stop wording, and we're gonna tone things down a little bit. We haven't rated them in a few weeks, so we're gonna go toss things over to my good buddies at Turtles and Chill. If you are not familiar with Turtles and Chill, they're a 24-hour turtle tank stream, where it's just lo-fi music and turtles and fish, and a great way to just kind of relax and spend the rest of the night. And I hope you all have a fantastic evening. We will see you all in another week. So have a great night, everybody. Take care.
I'll miss you.